Science is our new exhibit at the museum, and we are live on YouTube. Our Climate Emotions Matter workshop is Sunday night or Monday night at 6 o'clock. And I am going to stop the coming attractions and hand it off to Jay, who can take it away. Yes, I can.
It's not my first slide. No, that's the very end of the program. All right, we're getting this organized, and I'm just going to check my sound. This is the first time I've talked in this microphone. I don't know if I can see whether or not you can hear me okay, but if you can't, try to let us know. Okay, well, that looks great. Thank you, Don. So assuming you can all hear me well, and this is a neat event, Science in the Pub. We have been dealing with, the same thing everyone's been dealing with in terms of having crowds. We're beginning to get back in. We have a small crowd here tonight. We're in a Resurgence brewery, so it's a fun time to be here, and cheers to everyone. My talk tonight, it'll be about 40 minutes long, and the subject is why nature is important. And that might seem like everybody has a go-to answer for that, but over the 50 years or so that I've been doing science and environmental education and activism, it is a frequent question. And the good news is that in the past couple of years, as the pandemic has, kind of encased all of us, more people have come to think about the outdoors and think about nature and think about conservation. And so we get more people doing it, and I get the question more frequently. So I've been giving programs about this, why nature is important. And you probably all have pretty solid reasons to understand why nature is important, but I want to go through some of the things that I like to talk about. I'm going to start by just introducing who I am. I've been in West New York for over 50 years, and I've been involved with conservation and activism for almost all of that time. Some of the projects that I'm involved with, there's a nature preserve on Buffalo's Outer Harbor called Times Beach. I helped found that and create the Friends of Times Beach Nature Preserve. And so it's a beautiful nature preserve in downtown Buffalo. It's on Lake Erie, at the nexus of Lake Erie and the Niagara River. It's a great place. I also worked on, as a journalist, both media, video, TV, film, and writing. And I did a program called Green Watch for a whole bunch of years, writing about different things involving ecological conservation, environment. My partner was a fellow named Paul McLennan, who was then the environmental editor of the Buffalo News and had been for over 30 years. Yes, the Buffalo News had an environmental editor once upon a time. Anyway, Paul and I worked for years on this Green Watch, and I still publish under that heading sometimes. I also helped form the Outer Harbor Coalition, which is a group of activists and community groups that are interested in trying to make sure that our Outer Harbor in Buffalo remains public, doesn't get developed into private condos, and stays green space. And beyond that, we find ways to use the Outer Harbor other than creating sprawl out there. And we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. Two other programs I just want to mention. I'm with the West New York Environmental Alliance. We've recently declared the Decade of Biodiversity, which is kind of a new direction for that group. And if you want to know about that, for all of these, there's websites and there's Facebook pages and other social media, or you can email me. All right, so the Pollinator Conservation Association, I'm currently the executive director of that, and we do conservation projects focused on basically pollinators, but we have a holistic view. We look at birds and benthic organisms and the whole ecosystem, but we focus through the lens of pollinators. We do a bunch of sites. I have one site right near Resurgence Brewery, right down here on Ohio Street, which we've had for about 4 years. We're working these sites all over West New York, specifically within the Greenway. And the last thing I want to talk about, and I'll talk more about this at the end of the program, is the Birds in the Niagara. Birds in Niagara is a winter festival that I helped start 5 years ago now. And it's a winter festival, February festival, outdoor festival to celebrate the birds of the Niagara. And we have incredible birds in the Niagara River in the winter. We have incredible birds in the whole Niagara corridor all year long, but we have some of the most robust populations of waterfowl and other birds in the Niagara River. And we're celebrating them with the birds of the Niagara. We're promoting conservation. We're promoting social justice also. Lots to talk about with that, but Birds in Niagara, birdsinniagara.org. Please look it up. We'd like you to know more about us and help us share our messages. All right, so let's get to the subject at hand. Why is nature important? Well, for me, this says it all. Earth is a rare paradise. We may or may not be the only place in the universe. We're the only place that we know about that has life and our kind of life. So we're rare. And as a human being, this is a paradise. This is where we were created. Why is nature important? Well, nature is the basis of life. Nature gives us everything. Earth's ecosystems and habitats give us food, water, shelter, gives us medicine. It gives us our friends, our family, our colleagues. Nature gives us the ability to think, it gives us the ability to act, and it gives us the ability to love. It gives us the ability, and this is the most important part, I think, to have a future, because we have a chance to think through issues that may not give us a future. But nature gives us the ability to think and to be a community of thinkers. So nature gives us evolution and gives us the opportunity to have biodiversity. Biodiversity has given the Earth a chance to have a stable atmosphere. That's a pretty big deal. So as our atmosphere becomes less stable, we also have to understand that biodiversity is playing a role in that, or the decline of biodiversity. And nature is us. This is the last part of the why nature is important, direct conversation here. But nature is us. This is a group of badass people that have gone out and do projects. This is a professor from UB named Nick Henshaw and his class. They're out there tagging and studying monarch butterflies with my organization, Pollinator Conservation Association. Bunch of badass people. Nature is us. We are people that are studying and finding ways to conserve the monarch butterfly. This is a group I met with just last week at a place on the Buffalo Outer Harbor. People are out now thinking, learning, acting. Nature is us because it is helping us figure out ways to solve problems. Oh, that's not supposed to be here. Some people say that's my family, but anyway, sorry about that one. This is one of my favorite photographs in terms of nature is us. This is one of my most famous and favorite selfies. And Don, where'd you go? I need to play this video. This is a very quick video. I happen to be the only person that has interviewed the Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles and asked about climate change. And here's the video. We hope. Here we go. I'd love to talk with turtles about climate change.
Climate change? It's very hot here.
I tell you, it's a shell of a bad time. All right, I guess we can end that. I just wanted to show that. I don't know if you could hear it. I asked them what they think about climate change, and they gave me answers. And my activism transcends a lot of things. This is also another way that I've done some activism. That's me in the owl costume, talking to a bunch of kids last fall at Beaver Meadow Audubon Center. I was talking to kids about owls and just trying to reach people. Conservation activism involves communication. And so I do it and encourage people doing it in many different ways. Don, I have a problem. Part of my screen is blocked. I'm sorry. It's coming, folks. I'm going to be here in a second. I have a screen that's sort of blocking my screen here. So let's take a little break here. I'm going to have a little drink and be back with you in a few seconds, folks. It's a very lovely brewery here, by the way. Okay, here we go. Yes. Okay. So I still can't see it though. I can't see the screen.
It's you people in the way. People out there.
There we go. Okay. Thank you so much. All right, so this section is about why nature is important in the Niagara region. This is where I live. It's where a lot of you that are watching today live. Assume it's where most of us here live. Can you all hear me okay? Can you hear me? She's not nodding. Can you guys hear me? You can hear me. Okay. Well, so the Niagara region, where are we? We're in North America on the earth, in that little Great Lakes region in the middle there. The place really matters. And we are in a really critical spot. We being the Niagara River Corridor region, bioregion, we're in the Great Lakes. Great Lakes are home to a lot of things, a lot of biodiversity, a lot of wildlife, and the stuff we have here is globally important in its nature. We're not just an isolated place that doesn't matter to the rest of the earth. We have biodiversity here that is world class. We have native plants, we have various habitats, we have lots of fish, amphibians, reptiles, insects, pollinators, and a lot of birds. And a lot of them come here because of our location. And because of that, they bring biodiversity with them. So again, go back to the idea of how important biodiversity is, natural biodiversity, again, in the time that we're in now, and we're thinking and living in a time of climate change. Biodiversity really helps create a stable atmosphere. It helps create clean water, and it does create food that supports all life on Earth, including human life. So biodiversity is important. The fact that we have such biodiversity here makes us important. We're in 20% of the Earth's fresh surface waters in the Great Lakes. 84% of North America's fresh surface water is here. And there's over 40 million people that live in the Great Lakes Basin and rely on the Great Lakes as a water source. This map sort of shows some urban political boundaries around the Great Lakes. That's development. We are connected to all of the people that are in the entire Great Lakes region. The water that flows from them, flows by us into the Niagara River corridor and out to Lake Ontario and then out to the Atlantic Ocean. We're connected by water, we're connected by air, we're connected by the fact that we're all people, we know each other, we're connected in the Great Lakes, people are. We also have ecological connections. This is a map that shows watersheds in the Great Lakes. It's just to show you that all of the water within those light green areas basically flows into the Great Lakes, and that covers a lot of places. A lot of big cities, a lot of urban and agriculture areas, a lot of industrial areas. All that watershed goes into our water, the water that we drink, and it connects us to nature. We're also connected to a lot of places in our hemisphere. There's a bunch of lines here. Western New York, Niagara corridor is that star in the middle. The line down to the bottom right goes to the Amazon. The line to the top goes to the Arctic. The lines to the left and down to the left go to Central America, Mexico, and the Pacific boreal forest in the Northwest. One of the ways that we're connected to those places is birds. We have birds that breed in the summer in our area, swallows, many species of swallows, for instance, but winter in the Amazon. They give birth here. They raise their families here. They breed here, and they go to the Amazon to contribute to the biodiversity of the Amazon. A lot of times you hear, how do you save nature? How do you save the environment? Save the Amazon. That's important. It's the lungs of the earth. We also are connected to the Arctic. We have birds that come to this region in the winter. It's part of the Birds of Niagara festival. Birds from the Arctic that come here in winter, because this is almost like their Miami. It's more tropical. It's then, well, not really tropical, but it's warmer than the far north. Sometimes it's the only open water, so they have food, and they have a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of socialization that goes on in the river in the winter with birds. Snowy owl, for instance, is a bird that comes from the Arctic. How do you save nature? How do you save the world? How do you save the environment? Save the Arctic. Well, we have these connections to these places that what we do here makes a really big difference. We breed birds that support the Amazon. We take care of birds in the winter that support the Arctic. These are big deals. What we do here really matters. These birds are barn swallows, and those are birds that were born at Times Beach Nature Preserve. And we think that one summer, 2 summers ago, we had maybe 5,000 baby barn swallows that were born here that went back to the Arctic. That's a lot. These are the same birds. This is snowy owl on Buffalo's Outer Harbor. And this is a monarch butterfly. We have monarch butterflies that depend on this area that migrate to a mountaintop in Mexico, this region, mountaintop region. What we do here matters. Monarch butterflies are in trouble. Most all bird species are in trouble. Snowy owls are in trouble. What we do here matters. And it matters not just to our backyard, it matters to our hemisphere and our globe. Those connections really mean something. And it brings us to how important our area is and why it's important, why nature is important in the Niagara River corridor. We are connected. We're also connected socially, and this is an important thing that we have to know about if we're going to have a sustainable future. You have economy, you have environment, you have social justice when you think about sustainability. We have big communities of connected people in Western New York and throughout North America and throughout the Great Lakes and throughout Central and South America. We are connected. And we're not connected just by nature, but we're connected by people that experience that nature and talk about that nature and do conservation work and live in those places, and we share our lives with them. This monarch butterfly is a symbol of some immigrants from Central America. They're migrants, just like the monarch butterfly is. And this is really kind of the critical part of where we are in our human history. What do we share with this? We share everything. Climate change is here. It's changing our region. It's changing our planet. It's changing our social lives. It's changing our economy. And it's changing our ability to survive. So what do we do about it? Part of climate change, you hear a lot about greenhouse gases. Those are very critical. We have to stop using them. But we also have lost so much biodiversity and so much habitat deliberately. We've changed the way the earth functions on an ecological level. You may have heard this. There's a lot of scientists that are talking about us being in the 6th extinction period, the 6th great extinction in all of history. We're undergoing right now a dramatic loss. And we are targets, we as humans. We're connected to all of this. Let's talk about birds for a minute. Since 1970, which is about the time the first Earth Day happened, we've lost 3 billion birds. Total species on the planet have declined that far. not because, they've died individually, but because the species are all declining. Many are, most are. 3 billion birds have gone in 50 years, and it's on a rapid decline. It's getting worse. It's getting worse every day. Insects are also in massive decline. There's the International Union of Concerned Scientists issued a report saying insects are in a huge decline. Nearly half of all insect species worldwide are in rapid decline, and 1/3 could disappear altogether. Unless we change our ways, insects as a whole could go down the path of extinction in just a few decades. That's frightening. And that's, combine that with birds, combine that with amphibians and fish and biodiversity in general, native plants, we're in trouble. A friend, Doug Talmy, you may have heard of him. He's a great educator and professor of how to save us by using saving native ecosystems. He wrote this book called Nature's Best Hope, and in it he says things like 95% of the United States has been logged, tilled, drained, grazed, paved, or otherwise developed. 95% of the United States. Now, it may be more in Western New York, but that's a lot. That means 95% of the earth has been changed. Rivers have been straightened and dammed, air has been polluted, and I'll let you read through this. We've purposely imported thousands of species of plants, and we've carved the natural world into tiny remnants. This is a crisis. This is our crisis, and this is one of the reasons that we're in trouble. This is about a lack of biodiversity, a loss of biodiversity. So what can we do? I wake up every day thinking this is a great time to be alive. Now, I don't know why I do that, but I do it. And I have a brain, and I see problems, and I see humanity, and I think that there's a lot I can do today. There's a lot that we can all do today. And so what can we do? We can get to work, stay at work. Think global and act local is something that, many of us have been saying forever. Why don't we look at the condition of the planet and start thinking about resiliency and sustainability and try to find places where we can build resiliency instead of build destruction. The Niagara River corridor is a globally significant important bird area. That's because of the connections that area makes to birds all over the hemisphere and sometimes all over the planet. And it's also because it's at risk. This is a critical place. Being a globally significant important bird area is the same as places like the Everglades and the Galapagos and Yellowstone and us. I mean, that's how important we are. We're recognized as an important bird area like those other places. We also have a RAMSAR designation, which is in the US side, which has only happened in the last couple of years. But it is a designation recognizing the importance of the habitats, the wetlands importance. And so these are tools that we have that have been given to us by the world to recognize how important we are. And so we gotta work with that, and we can. E.O. Wilson, who passed away this last winter, said conservation is a discipline with a deadline. Yep. These are some scenes of Buffalo's Outer Harbor. I'm going to show you some pretty pictures just because one of the reasons that it's a good time to be alive is because there's a lot of nice things to see. Buffalo's Outer Harbor. This is a place that I do a lot of work, and I think that everyone should be more aware of. Where we are now, the Resurgence Brewery is part of the Outer Harbor. We're on the other side of the Buffalo River. But we're part of the downtown area, and it's a really neat place. It's formerly an industrial area that has somewhat recovered as the industry has gone away. I mean, we have a lot of industrial legacy contamination out there. We have a lot of natural areas too. It is also a remnant of what time was the gigantic marsh. Tiff Nature Preserve, you see up in the middle of this picture here, is about the only remnant of that marsh, which stretched possibly for miles inland in Buffalo, and certainly out to the cliffs of Hamburg and down past Grand Island was a huge freshwater marsh. And that was a place that helped buffer our community from storms. We have pretty intense storms in the Great Lakes and in Lake Erie. That's gone now. And it's been hardened, it's been developed, but we still have this green space. And thinking about how we can continue to use that to protect our community and our community's assets is something that we'll talk a little bit more about. By the way, developers that want to privatize that area have described it as a dead wasteland. All right, I'm going to show you a little video here. Maybe I can do it. Let's see. Here we go. There it is, I think. So these are some aerial views of the Niagara River, some places that we've done a lot of work on to make more resilient. These are some islands that are remnant islands that have been built upon to create homes for birds, fish, amphibians. This is a place called Strawberry Island. And on that right, that little round circle horseshoe is a new island that was created just in the last couple of years for common terns. Nesting common terns, they name is common, but they're vanishing. So this is up in the town of Tonawanda and Grand Island on the other side, Beaver Island Park. It's a great little archipelago of nature that has been created by us people. These are some aerials about buffaloes, are showing buffaloes Outer Harbor. This is coming in over the city of Buffalo across the Niagara River, right at the entrance to the Buffalo Harbor. And that's Times Beach Nature Preserve. And this is the area that if we hadn't been fighting would be, I call 1,000 acres of condos. But we've protected it so far. It's still green space. That's the bell slip. There's a lot of development that's going on there that we're concerned about, but this is basically the area, when I talk about the Outer Harbor, that we are working to keep green and keep in the public domain. Now back to my program. Yep, next. Yep. So some of the threats we've had in Buffalo Outer Harbor, these images depict some development plans. The one on the top right, there was a group called Congress for New Urbanism that came to Buffalo and said, we're going to help you. We're going to make your community stronger. And they proposed this sprawling development of private condos. I don't know where the Congress for New Urbanism gets their ideas, but I know that sprawl can bankrupt communities, and it's ecological. I mean, bankrupt communities economically. It's also such damaging in terms of what it does to the environment. And putting it right on the lake just didn't seem like a good thing. The two pictures on the left are depictions of a condo tower that has been proposed for the Outer Harbor, right in a place that has recently been underwater because of our storms. So anyway, we've been constantly threatened with this privatization development in what we think is an inappropriate area. And I mentioned flooding. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The marshes used to absorb some of that flooding. They don't anymore. So we just get harsh floods. This bottom picture is an idea about creating a little marshland and sand dunes and sand marshes at Times Beach next to Wilkinson Point. So we have other ideas that we're promoting other than condos. This shows some images of storms that we've had recently. Since 2019, when we had a huge seiche that flooded the entire Outer Harbor, including the site of that large condo tower and all of those other condos, put them underwater. It was a huge seiche and it did a lot of damage. The top right is canal side underwater. We've had 7 seiches since 2019 that have done tremendous damage in the Outer Harbor that continue to flood the Outer Harbor. This is a change. This is a climate change event. We're having increasingly intense storms. This storm that happened in 2019 had hurricane force winds. It had a up to 12-foot seiche, and it just put everything underwater. And if you lived out there, you would have died. And we also have storms in the winter. We have blizzards out there. And just think of people living there and trying to survive living out there. First responders, I wouldn't want to be one, but they'd have to go there to help save people. It's not a good idea to live out there. It is a good idea to recreate out there. You know, this is a dead wasteland. This is a wonderful little sand barren that has some rare plants in it. This is on the outer harbor. This is part of that grasslands that we have been working very hard to save. There's a lot of really neat habitats out there. Grasslands along Lake Erie is a very rare habitat, and there's a lot of native plants that are in there. It's not a barren wasteland by any means. It's a very beautiful, robust series of habitats and ecosystem that protects us in a lot of ways. Here's some of the rare plants we have. Well, milkweed we have. You know, that's something we encourage to go everywhere. It's growing naturally out there. This plant on the top right is called a bee balm, spotted bee balm, and we found it in the sand barren. It doesn't exist in many places in the Great Lakes. We thought it was extirpated from here, but it's out there. And we have unusual birds. There's a spotted sandpiper, and we have a variety of species of pollinators, including many families of bees. One of the things that we do to encourage people to learn more about the robustness of the ecology in the Outer Harbor is we do some citizen science. And one of the projects that we do is through iNaturalist. It's a BioBlitz, and it's online now. We've been running this for 4 years. We're now starting our 2022 spring and summer. If you have iNaturalist and you see things in an area of the Outer Harbor, which is mapped out, it'll show up here. In 4 years, we've had almost 3,000 observations. We've discovered 675 species. By discovered, I mean found them, identified them, and tagged them. And so we're learning that it is somewhat robust out there. It's not a dead ecosystem. It's got a lot of stuff going on. It's got a lot of biodiversity going on. Neat one down in the bottom right corner here. We just saw this. We just got this week. It's a Sora rail. A Sora rail. We also do a lot of advocacy. Our Outer Harbor Coalition has been meeting to promote protecting the Outer Harbor. We've had a lot of community meetings, and it's brought a lot of support to the idea of keeping the Outer Harbor green as opposed to privatizing it and developing it into condos. We have on-site things. This is a place out there called a Bell Slip Preserve. We bring people out there and just talk about nature and try to engage them in it. And it's working because people are loving the Outer Harbor, loving the nature, loving the sunsets, loving the birds. And I invite you to go out there if you haven't. Go out there and enjoy it because it's a really wonderful place in downtown Buffalo. It's a beautiful natural area. We still have threats. There's things going on this summer. This grassland area that I've been showing you, this picture of parking is that grassland area. And the current owners of the Outer Harbor, which is the state, Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation, are still trying to activate and use this area other than as nature. They just announced that they're putting a flea market out there all summer. The Italian and Irish festival are coming back out there this summer. There's an amphitheater that's going out there. This is not quiet. This is not natural. This is impactful in ways that hurt nature. And we've had things like air shows out there during migratory bird season, during breeding bird season. We don't want to see this kind of congestion and privatization. We want to see green space. So would you rather have this parking or would you rather have natural designed resilient areas? All right, now we're going to get to close to the end of the talk. We're going to talk about birds in the Niagara. This is the event that we have in the wintertime that celebrates conservation and birds and social issues because the social issues are important because I've been in conservation for a long time and I find it to be a very white movement. And so bringing other cultures together is really important. And so we have an emphasis on that at Birds in the Niagara, as well as birds and conservation strategies, conservation things that we do and need to do. One of the things that we have been working on is creating a bird-friendly city. And one of our speakers named Tim Beatley, this was 2 years ago, wrote a book called Biophilic Cities, which is like a nature-friendly city. It's guidelines to how a community can become more nature-friendly. And just before he came, he wrote a book called The Bird-Friendly City. Well, that fits us to the T. We need those things Buffalo, Niagara Falls, anywhere in the international border. He also wrote a book called Planning for Coastal Resilience. So Tim Beatley is someone we featured. He has a page on our website, birdsoftheniagara.org. It's great resources, and his program is there, and you can look at it. One of the things that we've come to out of a bird-friendly city is a program called Lights Out Niagara, and we are just launching this in 2022 this week. You'll be hearing a lot about it, I think, in the coming weeks. The point of this program involves the fact that we're in migratory bird season. Right now, we're in spring migratory bird season. A lot of those birds that winter in the Amazon, neotropical warblers, for instance, are coming through here now on their way north. Lights, they use light, they use natural light, they use stars to navigate. Artificial lighting not only confuses them, but it also kills them in that it can attract them to a building and they will collide. And so we have a lot of bird building collisions due to lighting. Also window issues and other design issues. We're working on that also. We have some programs to talk about that, but we're encouraging a program that is happening all over the Great Lakes, all over North America, Toronto, Detroit, Chicago, Philadelphia, Washington, Boston, Miami. They all have lights out programs and many other communities. We don't have any in the Niagara region. That's going to change because we are in an IBA, important bird area, and we have an incredible migrating bird populations. This is what the birds see at night when they're coming into Buffalo. If it's not foggy, if it's foggy, all these buildings are enshrouded in fog. Birds collide with the lit buildings, and they certainly collide with bird buildings in fog. We need to have a lights out program. We're using images to show that there is incredible mortality of birds. This bird on the right is a American woodcock that was found in downtown Buffalo 2 days ago. We have great tools now, though, to understand migration. That's part of the citizen science movement. Radar and Cornell are telling us what's coming here. A broadcast out of Cornell that you can go back to yesterday and go forward to tonight and see what's coming and see literally what's above us. They use things like acoustics to determine the kind of bird that's flying in and flying over. And you can find out how many numbers are here. And it changes from day to day. Right now it's happening, and we can look at this by county, Erie and Niagara County every day. We're in the beginning of a really big migration in this area. So be aware of it and be thinking of lights out. Lights out is as simple as having a policy that says turn your non-essential lights out between the hours of 10 p.m. and dawn, between April 15th, May 30th, September 15th, November 15th. That's the fall migration. Turn non-essential lights out. You don't need to have, big billboards and big beams, and you can turn them out. You can help protect birds. We can also do other kinds of regulating of lighting standards and glass standards, and we will be doing that. We have a lot of partners now in this initiative, Lights Out Niagara. And again, you'll be hearing about us more in the coming weeks. We're hoping to have legislation introduced to some municipalities in our region this fall. I'm going to end this program just by looking at a couple of pretty pictures of birds, just to chill out. And this is one reason nature is important, because we have these beautiful animals that are here. These are all pictures from here. The picture in the bottom right, the nests, is common egrets, great egrets, and great blue herons on one of those islands in the archipelago in the Niagara River. It's one of the largest blue heron rookeries in the Northeast, and we have it here. And the great egrets that also nest there, that's this symbol that Audubon used, and National Audubon uses it as a symbol now. When Audubon decided he wanted to be a conservationist, one of the reasons was that in the early 1900s, fashion was demanding that feathers from these birds be used in ladies' caps. And so a lot of great egrets were being killed for their feathers. Audubon became a conservationist somewhat because of that. How much time do we have, Don? So do we have 5 minutes to show a video? I'm going to show you one more video then. It's a lights out video. And let's see if I can do this. And then we maybe have time to go to some questions. This is a video that I produced last year to talk about lights out. It gives a little more of an explanation of what's going on.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have.
Hi, my name is Jay Burney, and I'm the chair of the Birds on the Niagara Festival. The Birds on the Niagara is an international festival. It's the only international festival for birds in North America. And we celebrate the birds of the Niagara River corridor. One of the neat things about the Niagara River corridor and birds is that it's a globally significant important bird area and a RAMSAR area of international importance. At least on the US side, it's a RAMSAR area. Hopefully the Canadian side will come to that soon. Today, we're announcing a bird-friendly city initiative, and it's called Lights Out Niagara. The issue involves how lights affect migrating birds. The Niagara River corridor is a very important place for migrating birds. Being a globally significant important bird area, it attracts birds all year long, many of them migrating, and we have connections in the Niagara River corridor to migrating birds from in the wintertime. The Niagara River is full of birds, waterfowl that are in breeding plumage. They come here from the far north. There's other birds too, like snowy owls. They come from the Arctic, and many of them do, and they winter here in the Niagara. In the summertime, we have migrating birds that come here from as far away as the Amazon. They connect us to these places, both physically and it connects us to people. Biodiversity, which is something that birds help support, creates clean water, clean air, and healthy people. And so the migrating birds that come through our area are in trouble when it comes to lights. Lights out programs occur all over the world, all over North America, all over the Great Lakes, and we're very proud to announce this Lights Out Niagara initiative today. What happens is that birds get confused by light, artificial light. They navigate by light. Most birds navigate when they're migrating by light. If they see artificial light, tall buildings, etc., it confuses them, and sometimes they end up colliding with buildings. On Buffalo's waterfront and along the Niagara River, often, we have very foggy overnight periods, very foggy mornings, and some of the buildings that are enshrouded in this fog emit light. And the birds will see it, and they'll see the light, and it'll be like, almost like a fly being attracted to a candle. They'll fly into that fog, being attracted to the light, and they'll collide with buildings. Millions of birds die every year because of collisions with buildings. We are following the New York State initiative started by Governor Cuomo, which is called Lights Out New York, where it mandates that state facilities turn the lights down during migrating seasons. And in the case of Lights Out New York, it's between April 15th and May 31st, and between September 15th and November 1st, between the hours of, I don't know, 10 o'clock and dawn. Dusk to dawn is a good thing. So we're going to encourage municipalities, building owners, homeowners, and apartment dwellers, and anyone that is in this region to think about the impact on birds with having lights on at night. There's ways to do it appropriately. There's non-essential lights, and we'd like you to think about how you can contribute. Whether you're a government representative or an individual, go to our website and birdsintheniagara.org, and it'll help you learn more about our initiatives. And thank you to our many partners. We have great partners on the Birds on Niagara Festival on both sides of the border. We're in an international region, and international partners on this Lights Out Bird-Friendly Cities initiative. Check out our website, and safe birding.
Yeah, Don just said, let's open it up for questions. I don't know if you could hear that video, but at least you maybe could see some pretty pictures. Go lights out.
I could hear it back there.
Yep.
It wasn't super loud, but I could hear it. And I think I'm going to try and use my phone as a microphone, so we can each have a microphone. And are there questions? We're a small enough group that I think you can just kind of shout them out, whether you're in the bar or at home.
You must have a question.
Comments? I know I have one. How soon do we think Times Beach is going to be reopened?
Well, that's a good question. Times Beach Nature Preserve has been mostly closed since Halloween of 2019. We were able to open part of it the next year. But the major damage done to boardwalk areas is an expensive repair. And as we've been thinking it through, we've realized we're not sure exactly what we can do with it to make it better. So we have to get the dike fixed. That's one of the major issues. There's a hole in the dike, and it's one of the reasons it continues to flood. So the good news is we may be able to get some of the trails opened again soon. We did it last fall late. Within a week and a half, we had another storm that flooded everything we opened up. So we're thinking it through.
Yeah, and I will note you can get to the area near there, but much of Times Beach itself is closed. Are there other questions? Either Heather?
We have discussion about the stations that come
That's
in.
not going to work. That's not going to work.
One of us is getting some interference here. Sorry. Well, the question is how aware our developers are about the seiches. The truth is we have a lot of seiches every year, but they've been getting more intense. We've had some intense ones throughout history, but we've had a lot of intense ones in the last 4 years. So it's kind of new, and we're documenting it, and we bring it to public hearings. We show the photos and the videos, and there's no development there yet in terms of condos and private commercial development. How we use it is still up in the air. So the question is, can we use seiches to prevent development? I think we should. I don't know if that's an adequate answer for you, but well, yeah, there's always hope. There's always hope. Yeah, I think that we have a lot of political support to keep it green, to make it a park. We have a petition online that has almost 50,000 signatures to keep it green, keep it a park. We may have legislation introduced soon in the state legislature to make it a state park. So there's a lot of hope, and we just have to get through the next 2 years of the current owners. BCHDC. Hi, guys. Sounds like time to drink beer.
Okay, well, I'll just shout into your microphone and say thank you all for coming. Some food and what have you. And thank you very much, Jay, for the great presentation. And join us on 13 days from now. I forget what exact date that is, for Annie Fresh Ozar talking about the science of puppetry. And that's a fully online program. And our final session will be May 25th back here in Resurgence and online. And that'll be the climate change education panel. Thanks one and all, and have a great night. Bye-bye.